My name is Miranda. I was 22 years old, living with my grandmother in a small village. I had lost both my parents when I was just 10, and she had raised me entirely on her own. She gave me food, shelter, and love. She watched over me the way only a mother could. I was young and restless, always wanting to go out, always chasing laughter. I respected her deeply, but I did not always listen to her. My grandmother worried about my future. She wanted someone to care for me the way she had. So she arranged my marriage to a man from our village named Simon. He was a carpenter, quiet and hardworking, with gentle eyes and steady hands. We married, and our life together was simple and peaceful. He loved me completely. For 2 years I felt truly safe. Then Simon found a better paying job in New York. We were both so excited. It felt like the beginning of something wonderful. We packed our lives into a small apartment in the city. While Simon worked long hours, I kept the home and waited for him each evening. For a while, that was enough. But the city got inside me. I made new friends who wore expensive clothes and spent their nights at loud, glittering parties. Standing among them, I felt invisible. I went home and asked Simon for a dress. It cost $1,800. Without hesitation, he emptied the savings he had been building for years. Money he had been putting aside to open his own little shop. He gave up his dream and handed me every cent of it just to make me feel beautiful. I should have stopped there. I did not. I wanted more dresses, gold jewelry, a life that matched the one I saw around me. Simon worked double shifts trying to keep up, but the city demanded more than any honest man could give. We began to drift. He came home exhausted every night, needing my warmth, my company, my voice. But I was never there. I was always at another party, always somewhere bright and loud, searching for something I could not name. That was where I met Pete. He was polished and confident, with an expensive suit and a wide smile. He drove a nice car and took me to expensive restaurants. He gave me money freely, as if it meant nothing. I told myself I deserved this. I told myself Simon could not give me the life I wanted. I packed my new clothes one afternoon, left a letter on the kitchen table, and walked out on the man who had given me everything. The letter I left, Simon said I was sorry, that I needed more than he could give, and that I hoped he would forgive me. I wrote it without crying. My grandmother called me that week. Her voice was cold and quiet. She said I would never find a man who loved me the way Simon did. I hung up the phone. I did not want to hear it. Life with Pete was electric for a while. Parties every weekend, a wardrobe full of beautiful things. But after a year, I started feeling unwell. My chest felt heavy. I ignored it, blamed stress, kept going. One morning, the pain became impossible to ignore. I went to the hospital, and the doctor came in with a face that told me everything. Cancer advanced, already spread. I was admitted immediately. Pete visited in the beginning. He brought flowers and sat at the edge of my bed, always looking like he had somewhere else to be. As the weeks passed, his visits grew shorter. Then one morning I woke up and he was gone. On my bedside table was an envelope of cash and a letter. He wrote that he was sorry that my condition was worsening and he had a life to live. I held that letter and read it twice. The words looked familiar. They were nearly the same words I had written to Simon. I threw the money across the room. I tried to stand and could not. The pain knocked me back onto the bed, and I cried. Then I picked up the phone and called my grandmother. I told her everything, every lie, every choice. I told her leaving Simon was the worst thing I had ever done. She told me to stop crying. She said she was coming. She did not come alone. When the hospital room door opened and I saw Simon standing beside her, I could not speak. He had come anyway. From that day on, neither of them left my side. Every single night he was in that chair beside my bed, holding my hand. One night I found the words, I told him I was sorry. He looked at me with tired, honest eyes and said that I had left, but he had never stopped loving me. Simon sold our city apartment to pay for my treatments. My body slowly began to fight back. The doctors were stunned. After nearly a year in that hospital, I walked out. It felt like being handed a second life. We moved into a small, rented house, and I learned something there that I never could have learned at any party. I learned what it felt like to wait for someone you love. Then came news about Pete. He had been nobody, renting his car, renting his house, wearing a costume. Everything I had destroyed my marriage for had been an illusion. Simon and I moved back to the village. A few months later, I gave birth to our son. Now we are 4 inside those walls. Every evening when Simon comes home from work, I meet him at the door. When our eyes meet, there is nothing missing. True love does not arrive loudly or dressed in gold. It shows up in a hospital room after you have broken its heart. It stays when it has every reason to go. I almost lost mine forever, but grace gave it back to me, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure I deserve it.